and welcome to Juicy Scoop. Got a great show as always for you. We're going to cover so many hot topics. Let me go right into The Bachelor. You guys, I told you I really like this Bachelor. He's hot. His name's Matt. But there's some interesting things about it, about the franchise this season. There is this one girl named Queen Victoria who people are speculating, is she really there for the right reasons? Or was she planted there by the producers? Or did she get chosen and then know, because she's probably been watching since she was like 8 years old, that chances are you're not going to end up with the Bachelor or be the Bachelorette. So why not be just the biggest asshole ever? So you stand out, have people talk about you, have Juicy Scoop talk about you. Maybe you go on to have your own podcast. You get a lot of followers. I don't know. But she really sticks out like a sore thumb. Her name is Queen Victoria, is what she calls herself. She's like, I'm the queen. I'm the queen. And she's not very attractive compared to the other girls. And her outfits are horrible. And she seems to be starting fights with people that don't make any sense. And it felt like very fake. Like, okay, when I go in there, there's got to be drama. Like, I almost feel like the producers were going to be like, okay, we need there to be in-house drama. So they go to her because she's the most malleable or directable. And they say, okay, Queen Victoria, start a fight with somebody. Just pick someone that you're not like loving. Okay, how about my roommate? Great. Because I'm watching this and she gets in a fight with her roommate, goes to tell Matt, the roommate was mad at me. She was mean to me. She was bullying me. And the Matt's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And Matt is clearly doing the job that the producers asked them to do. He's shirtless. He's chopping wood. But he's not as like fake as the other ones because he still has like a nice personality and he is nice to look at. So I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, who does Queen Victoria, who does this chick remind me of? And one of the greatest shows ever out of Australia, Chris Lilley is a hilarious comedian. There's all these characters, male, female. He played this character of this girl. It was Sunshine Heights. Summer Heights High. It was one of my favorite shows that I watched. He's brilliant. He had this character named Jemay, and she's Australian, and she's just the worst girl ever. She goes to an all-girl private high school wearing uniforms, and there's just like this funny scene where like the car drives up and she like screams at her mother. She's like, I told you 310, not 307, you fucking bitch. Fuck my life. Like she's the worst. And then she's like, hey. And even though it's like a 35-year-old guy dressed up like a 15-year-old girl, everybody else all the other characters are really like girls that look like they're 15-year-old pretty blonde girls who are Jemay's friend. It is hilarious. I suggest you guys look it up or at least go to his Instagram. So that is who it reminds me of. I'm on my YouTube page here, you guys, to watch. Here is the girl, Queen Victoria, and here is Chris Lilley being Jemay. They are the exact same person, minus his character has an Australian accent. The same bullshit. I even like do video clips of them side by side on my Instagram at Heather McDonald. It's amazing. So then we looked her up because I was like, wow, not only does this girl have an awful clothes, she's wearing a bra that completely did not work with her outfit. So I'm like, did she only pack one bra? But I was like, God, she had, circles under her eyes. Her makeup wasn't very good. Even when she tried to kiss him, he kissed her, but I felt like he was like pulling away. It was very awkward. So I looked her up on her Instagram and she's gorgeous now. I believe that she got better brows. She got better hair and makeup. She definitely got hair extensions. I think she got her teeth done. She got lip fillers. She might have gotten a little filler under her eyes or just better makeup. I'm not sure. But she's pretty hot. And so now it really makes me think that she was playing a character, that annoying girl that didn't know how to dress or do makeup, that just kept talking about being Queen Victoria. You guys, I'm not here to make friends. I'm not in a sorority. I call bullshit. And I know that she stays on for a couple more weeks because we saw the previews. And the only reason he's keeping her is because the producers are asking him. And look, it is fun. We're talking about it. So I understand how to make TV. I just want to get to the bottom of it. So hopefully we'll find out. So, you guys, this is my friend Claudia Oshry, and she is the host of Morning Toast, and she is one of the top podcasts. It's a daily pop culture podcast. So, I wanted to get her perspective. Also, she's in New York, of what the hell is going on in our crazy world with all the hottest Hollywood gossip. So, here we go with Claudia. I am very excited to have a queen in the podcasting world. I have Claudia Oshry. Am I saying your last name right? And
yeah, it's interpretive. Say what you want.
Okay, but she is, known for her incredible Instagram, Girl with No Job, and of course her podcast that she's had with her sister Jackie, Morning Toast, a daily podcast that's been out for years now. And I have you on because I'm very excited to join you to the club of being a published author. Tell me about your book.
Club.
Tell me about your book.
I'm so excited to join you here. I actually read your book when it came out. I think I was in college. I loved it. And honestly, that was like the type of book I wanted to write. Just like funny and personal, but also like kind of earnest,
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm excited to read yours. What is the title of it?
Girl with No Job, The Crazy Beautiful Life of an Instagram Thirst Monster.
Love it. That's a great title. Did you have fun writing it?
Well, I enjoyed it in the sense that it felt like an accomplished thing to do, and I felt like a smart person when I don't always feel academically like a smart person. But it was also traumatizing. Like, there was a lot of stuff in the book that, like, the reason why I wanted to write a book is because I feel like I have a lot to say, but sometimes podcasting and Instagram, like, isn't the best format for that. Like, sometimes I want to be more thoughtful and take time to, like, really curate how I feel. And a lot of that is like personal stuff that I don't like love discussing all the time,
So one of the things that people, want to know more about is your family, your mother in particular, who's had some polarizing stuff happen with her. She is very political on the right. So, and which in turn affected your career greatly at one point. So do you get into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I never really publicly talk about my relationship with my mom. I think a lot of people kind of feel left in the dark on like where I'm at with her. And I just talk about in the book how like I'm very close with my mom. She raised me as a single mom. My dad died when I was in high school, and we've always been really close. And, in recent years, it's just become a big topic of conversation for people, the fact that my mom is very politically conservative. I don't really cover politics, but I think a lot of the time people expect me to come out and like condemn or,
or condone
ill of her. And I don't. And the reasoning is really what I sat down and wrote in the book, like why I feel like that's a decision I'm just not going to do ever.
Yeah. That's interesting. And so your dad passed when you were in high school, and there's 4 girls, and what number are you again?
Yes. I'm number 3 of 4.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that must have been, so do you discuss that as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was traumatizing, like, 1 month into high school in the 9th grade, just like getting a call that my dad had a heart attack and just like dropped dead out of nowhere. Like he wasn't sick. He didn't have an illness. It was just truly out of nowhere. And like how I feel like I actually grappled with it rather well as a kid, but now becoming an adult and like my sister just had a baby and like we're all married now, it's actually harder now than it was when I was a kid.
Oh, that's really interesting because it makes you realize how much loss you really had in your childhood by not having a father there. So then you look at that child and is that why?
Yeah, and it's also just more glaring. Like, everyone, has their dad walking them down the aisle at their wedding, and like I didn't have that. And then you have kids, and your kids have a grandfather, and those moments are just like more glaring to me than like my dad missing my high school graduation, which like is a big deal at the time, but it's not like a life altering moment like getting married and having kids is.
Right, exactly. And well, so many people don't even have a graduation. So you're right. Who cares? I mean, that's not a big deal like anymore. Who did you have walk down? Who walked down?
My mom.
Oh, that's great.
Well, I had like an Orthodox Jewish wedding. Okay. So in Jewish weddings, both of your parents walk you down the aisle. It's not like a father-daughter thing.
Oh.
But my dad wasn't there. And then, a lot of people dance with their dads, but I dance with my mom. So it's like those two things like the absence of my dad, and then my mom, you know, being this quote unquote controversial figure, and people expecting me to just like come out and like shit on her, which is just, I'm not that type of person. I was raised very traditionally Jewish, like family values are such a core part of that. And becoming, you know, famous on Instagram, like that doesn't change the fact that I'm very close with my mom. She raised the four of us, you know, from the time I was 14 and put us all through school and college. Like that doesn't change any of that for me. And I know that's really difficult for some people to comprehend, and they, you know, demand that I speak out. And I'm really sorry to let people down. It's just, it's not who I am. And I'm not going to change who I am because it's what someone needs to hear.
And how have you dealt with, because we know that you actually really did get canceled. You lost your Yahoo TV daily show, and which we've talked about when we've gone out to dinner, best thing that ever happened to your career, so that you guys could go on your own, own your own property, have your own podcast. How have you felt about this past year with all the political unrest and the amount of celebrities that have gotten canceled as well?
I mean, I know like nobody feels bad, and I'm not saying that we should feel bad, but it's been a tough thing to follow, where you want to like follow your heart and really use your platform to highlight important issues. But when you do, you know, you're accused of being performative, but then if you don't say anything, it's like, how can you not speak out? So it's this tough place where you really, like, I'm a genuine person. I don't post things that I don't believe in. I'm not performative like that. If I post it, it's because it's what I really believe. And it's hard to not read every message because you want to take the temperature on your audience. They want to know like how they're feeling, like, and it's a difficult position to be in because you want to do and say the right thing, but it's almost impossible to please everyone because people will yell at you, stick to politics, you dumb bitch. And then some people will be like, really, that's all you're going to post? So you don't know at the end of the day what the right decision is.
Right. And then it's interesting how sometimes I'll be so stressed and scared about, you know, something that I did that got a little heat or said. And then I look back like a month later and I'm like, I can't believe I stressed about the Selena Gomez robots that came after me. Like,
no, I know.
I mean, like, I'm like, I can't believe I even worried about it because it's really, so far I've been really lucky that it is a very small percentage. I haven't had something as monumental as what you had. But, I think anybody out there is going to, you know, but then all of a sudden you'll see that you got like some 1-star reviews, you got 50 or whatever, which will then change from a 5-star to a 4.5. And you're like, God, you know that these people got together, you know that they made fake accounts and spent an afternoon trying to actually lower your rating. And then you're like, whatever, I guess this is what it is.
Yeah, I feel like my philosophy on it's tough because as an influencer and a podcaster in the digital space, which is a very PC place where people, you know, there are lots of trigger warnings, like it's a very protected, safe space for people. And then also doing comedy, which is like, say whatever the fuck you want, you can say whatever you want. It's very difficult to toe the line. And the philosophy that I've come to in the last few years is like, if I ever said something that I regret, that upset people, like I will always apologize. Like I'm not too big to apologize. Like I'll always apologize. But there are things that people will be upset with you about that you're not sorry for. And I don't think you should apologize for that. Whether it's something you said, something you posted, a decision that you made. Like I don't think you always need to apologize if there's backlash. You should apologize if you're sorry.
Right. And I've
been very sorry about a lot of things that I've done. And I feel like I'm so hard on myself when I do because it's like, oh, she really is this terrible person, you know? But I've put a lot of pressure on myself to constantly like say, do, and act. And that's a really like traumatizing way to live.
Yeah, it is. Do you ever do you have mornings where you're afraid to wake up because you've had mornings that are scary when you pick up your phone and you know, you're like, what's today going to bring?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a form of like PTSD and in the book on the chapter on cancel culture, I really dive into like the day that I got canceled, here's what happened. It started at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., like day by day, hour by hour, the phone calls that I was getting, the emails that I was getting, like all the repercussions of the cancellation. And every day when I roll over, what happened was I literally went to the opening night of Cabaret with the Countess. That's where I think I saw you.
Yes. Yeah, the first time.
And the next day, I woke up so hungover, rolled over to get ready for work, and my phone was just ablaze with this article that was written. And that article was a catalyst into all these other articles and cancellations. And so you wake up every day and you're like, oh, great. What's new today?
Yeah. Yeah. So, so what did you think? What do you think about the people that got canceled? Do you have any thoughts on Stassi, who just gave birth to her baby? It seemed like at least my fans were very interested that she was giving birth. They were waiting with bated breath. They wanted to know the name, which tells me that I think she's going to do just fine. I've thought she would.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if
She has a lot of fans.
Yes.
Still.
I don't know that she'll ever go to the place that she went to before with going on the podcast tours and everything. But I think that I predict that she, she is a funny girl. She has good style. So I think she'll find her audience in the mommy world, in the fashion and lifestyle world, and she will continue to do that and do just fine. What do you think?
Yeah, when I talk about cancellations, I think a lot of times my opinions are unpopular because I always try and give the person the benefit of the doubt and try and just give them the benefit of the doubt, because I felt like when it happened to me, I was just automatically labeled racist, ignorant, and nobody really gave me the benefit of the doubt to explain myself. And so I always try and get in the mind frame of let's just take a step back and give this person the benefit of the doubt. And when it comes to Stassi, I really feel like she's or was a mean girl. Not necessarily was it racially charged. I just feel like she got so famous off of being a bitch, and that's just the character she played for a really long time. And I don't mean to downplay people who are really upset and offended by what she did, and I totally understand it, but I do think in terms of business, she will be totally fine. She has a very loyal audience of people who still love her. Her Instagram engagement is super high. At the end of the day, I do think in terms of making a comeback, it will never be what it was. The star of Vanderpump Rules, brands here, brands there, a line here, a line there. But I do think she will be fine and she will make a living and she'll be able to support her family.
Totally. And I think that, with everything that's going on, it's true. It's that we and your show as well, a big part of our show is talking about these reality shows where people become stars and they're rewarded for behaving badly, for saying the meanest things to a cast member that they didn't even know they needed to shave their face.
Right. Remember when James's mom said that she hopes that Kristen is barren? That was the craziest, meanest thing I've ever heard anyone say on reality TV. The bar is so low.
I think the reason Dorinda, the final nail in the coffin of Dorinda, was telling Tisley, have you gotten pregnant yet? Have you gotten that turkey baster to get you pregnant?
So awful, especially when I would imagine the demographic of people who watch Real Housewives of New York are many women with children who may have suffered from, trouble getting pregnant or fertility issues.
And everybody knows someone who has. If you haven't,
I've
you know
never been
someone.
a huge fan of Dorinda for that reason alone. She always goes below the belt, but that was the craziest thing I've ever heard anyone say. So we're in this culture of saying disgusting things.
Right. And then they get rewarded and they keep going back. And so let's talk about some other things. Okay, the Armie Hammer tweets.
Fucking crazy.
Let's hear your opinion and then I'll jump in because I already talked about it on the last episode, but more has come out.
I mean, he's such a freak. I don't know how people come up with these things to even say. I know sexting is a thing. I didn't know cannibal sexting was a thing, and I feel really, really bad for the woman who spoke out because the Armie Hammer stans have totally attacked her, doxed her. They sent around fake screenshots being from her Instagram story, they made a fake screenshot saying, oh, I lied about my DM. So now half the people think that she's lying, and she's not. She's telling the truth. She's very brave. It's so disgusting. I didn't even know cannibal BDSM was a thing, an interest, and I could have lived my whole life without knowing that.
Okay, so let me just ask some questions because I was trying to figure it out too. When I first heard that Armie Hammer, the big star, in case you don't know what we're talking about, DMs surfaced that someone had screenshot that they'd had with him that were then posted and trending on Twitter that were him talking to a girl about not only being a dom and a submissive, but all this cannibal stuff. I want to eat your blood. I want to cut you. Can I eat your toe? Can I cut off your toe? If your heart was pounding, I'd walk by it and then come back and eat it as an appetizer. I don't know. It kept going on, okay? And I first thought, with all the fake news, with all the conspiracy theories, with, a lot of people thinking that all of Hollywood is sitting down to eat rock Cornish game hens that are actually babies and sharing it with, Oprah Winfrey, I was like, is this part of that to make people go, I told you all of Hollywood is, Satanists?
Sadistic. That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, so I was like, I got to report on it because Page 6 is saying allegedly. But I thought, but as the hours passed and he was not making any kind of statement like this, this is not him, this is fake. I was like, wait a minute. I mean, if someone showed fake texts of me saying, I'm meeting you, hey, hey, person, come and eat my blood. I'm going to Trader Joe's, meet me in the back and I'm going to blow you and eat your blood. Like, I would be immediately like, that wasn't me. This is ridiculous. Get a lawyer. But my question is, so was there several girls and did any of these girls ever meet him in person? Do you know any that?
What I've seen is that it's one girl sharing the DMs.
Okay.
And then another girl, or maybe it was the same girl, I'm not sure, with photos after they had met in person that were very aggressive and violent, and she had bruises. And it's like a crazy story that's like internet gossip, but I think now the more we learn, it's like actually a crime.
Yeah. So what do you think? So there is a couple girls, but one girl that actually met him is what we understand. And it went too far.
And now I think a lot of other people who maybe like were DMing with him are reaching out to this one girl who started this movement to share their stories. I'm sure we will learn more in the coming days because you don't just do this. This isn't an isolated incident.
And so what do you think is going to happen to him in his career? Because now I'm wondering, I was just going to say one thing. I was wondering, like, he still has not said anything. So, with these, cancel culture and crisis management PR people, it's very interesting. Like, okay, now you just do the black, the black box with the writing on the white writing,
right.
Put that on Instagram. Or do you do a heartfelt video where you don't wear a lot of makeup? You look a little tired, but you're not completely whacked. You might have a ring light, but it's a little further away. You look like you've been crying. You dress very subtly and you apologize. Or in this case, I'm wondering if they're going a completely different route, which is don't ever address it, go dark for like 6 months, and then just come back with your movie. So what do you think will happen?
I think that a lot of people, when they go through public crises, they look at what other people have done. They look at the precedent that has been set. There is no precedent for cannibalism. Like, nobody knows what the right thing to do is here. I don't know what he will do in terms of responding or making a statement, but I do think it'll be very interesting to watch his career. And I talk about this a lot in the book, how like cancel culture is so problematic for a bunch of different reasons. But one is because I feel like we treat people who make jokes or say the wrong thing, we treat them worse than like people who do the bad things. Like in Hollywood, there are people, with multiple allegations of sexual assault and, abusing their power. And they're doing just fine, making movies, acting in movies, producing movies, making tons of money, where the internet just really kind of alienates people who have made mistakes in terms of saying the wrong thing, which is doesn't make you a bad person. Everyone makes mistakes, but committing a crime is very different than making a bad joke. And what Armie Hammer did is really interesting because it's really started on the internet, and I think that internet trolls will like make it their business to make sure he doesn't work again. But Hollywood has this pattern of like not caring when it comes to sexual assault in terms of putting their money where their mouth is.
Right, exactly. And like, it's not even just stuff like this. It can be that some TikToker is going to go do a series about that they waited on a bunch of Hollywood people and Claudia wasn't that nice. You know, Claudia didn't look me in the eye and Claudia was like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. She left a decent tip, but she wasn't that great. Well, maybe your friend just found out she had cancer that day. Maybe you got in a horrible fight with your husband. Maybe you just like wanted the coffee, or maybe the omelet really did suck and you were kind of bummed about it. Like it's just, so not only do you have to watch what you say and do where it can be recorded, in an article or on a podcast or on a post, but like, you better make sure you are the biggest fucking delight, the biggest tipper, the most respectful every second of your life. I always say I'm just a little bit too famous to not be the bitch I sometimes deserve to be. Sometimes you deserve to be a bitch.
That. I really
Sometimes
do. And I
customer service does suck, and you're not getting and you did pay a lot, and the food isn't good, and you've waited 2 hours, and you're not, you're kind of bummed, and you'd like to express that to the manager. Sometimes you have a right to do that. And sometimes you want to help the restaurant by saying, like, hey, this person was really rude, or hey, this meal was really not cooked right. Like, you can still charge me, but I'm just telling you so that you can keep business. Forget it. I will tip. I will say everything was delicious. Like, I'm terrified of seeing my face on a green screen on a TikTok or saying I was rude.
Right. And also, there's no real way of validating that kind of information. I really feel like this culture, especially that has started on TikTok, of people saying their experiences with celebrities, and half the time they're making it up. I'm actually like, most recent example is this beauty guru, Cole Carrigan, who went viral on TikTok saying he was actually the beauty guru that Kanye was hooking up with, not Jeffree Star.
Right.
And he did a bunch of videos with his quote-unquote receipts. He's being sued, and in the cease and desist, it says you have to apologize and say that this is completely fabricated. And he went on his Instagram or his TikTok and straight out said, like, yeah, no, I fully made this up. And you start all this hoopla talking about people, even though they're celebrities, like starting all these rumors just because you were bored, and this culture of like no accountability in terms of like validating people's information is a little dangerous.
Right. And speaking of the TikToker that did, like, I don't know, talked about celebrities, I guess Haley Baldwin got like a 4 out of 10 or something on this rating, and she totally reached out, was like, I can't remember what her story was, but reached out, said she was sorry, apologized, explained like what happened that day, or that, and I'm like, oh my God, and then when we finally do have restaurants open up, people are going to be like terrified to go, not because they're going to get corona, but because they're going to be like, shit.
It is worth saying, that there are people, and not even celebrities, like I'm sure you know people in your personal life, who are consistently rude at bars and restaurants to wait staff and servers, and it is literally my least favorite quality. Like, you are disgusting. Like, if that's your go-to to like speak down to people, I hate you. But I agree, like, not everyone is always at a 10 all the time.
Right. Yeah. And you never, and you can be sad or not friendly, or but I mean, I am a 10 every time. You come up to me, I'll take a photo with you. I don't care how ugly I look. If I'm really in a bad state, I'm going to try to get in my car and get home as quickly as possible. I have had someone say that I was in Mammoth, which is our ski town here in California, with my kids, which skiing is extremely stressful when the kids were little. And they were in an elevator with me, and my husband and I were like bickering, and they wanted to say hello to me.
Oh God, that's terrible.
And they didn't, but they understood because they were parents, and they understand what a nightmare skiing is with kids. A kid lost a glove. Like, it's a fucking nightmare. And
it's
I was like, that's the only like kind of shitty report I got. And I'm like, totally believe your account. Totally believe your account. But had you stopped me, I still would have turned and been like, well, now this made the day. So thank you for recognizing me.
Right. You would have been a delight.
Yeah, it would have been a shitty day, but you were the little bit of the highlight to it.
That's so funny.
So speaking of that, what do you think of DeuxMoi? Now, I heard you talk about her a little, or he, we don't know. DeuxMoi is someone who started an Instagram account that just reposts anonymous juice that they get from other people about celebrities. Again, there's no receipts. There's no photo of some girl who supposedly spent the night with, a housewife's husband in Toronto. We don't see them in bed together. We don't see them at the club together. So what do you think of that? And
Well, so I've been following DeuxMoi for a really long time, and now their account is like super popular. And to be honest, I liked it more a little while ago before everyone had discovered it, because now I just feel like they post such a variety of celebrities, most of whom I actually don't care about. Like, I care more about like influencers and housewives, and that's what the content used to be. Now it's all like, J-Lo's rider, which like I don't really care. But I agree. I think that there's something problematic with doing no research on what you post and put out there. And I think that their anonymity gives them a little bit more confidence to post things without doing even just the slightest bit of research.
Right.
And on a few occasions, they have had to apologize or backstep. But most people don't see that. They don't see the correction. They just see the thing and it's implanted in their brain. So I do think while it's entertaining and fun, there is a little bit of like an unethical element to just posting things that people say without doing any of the smallest bit of research. And a lot of celebrities now use it as a tool for their publicists to send in, anonymous things.
Oh, interesting.
To put the image of she's a delight to servers,
Okay, well, let's do that. Heather McDonald picked up some takeout since all of our restaurants are still closed. And gave a huge tip.
Lovely.
Huge tip, said thank you. She had a mask on, a double mask. She was just a total delight. Okay, yeah, I agree. I wonder what will happen with that. Now, does this DeuxMoi person who has now a lot of followers, are you aware, do they make money off of their Instagram? Like, are they selling flat tummy tea with like a mask on, or is this just fun for them? Like, what are they getting out of it?
Well, obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of their business, but just following them for a long time on the platforms, I don't see them monetizing in any real way with brands or ads or anything, a Patreon. I don't see that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how they could be generating revenue. I don't think that they are.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of, what's worse in life.
Also, it's worth mentioning that I do know who it is.
You do? And how did you find
honestly,
out?
It's not like Haley Baldwin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be anyone whose name you recognize.
But it is somebody you know.
I just happen to have met... No, I don't know them.
Okay.
I just happened to have met them years ago at an event, and we just connected online, and then the account blew up.
Oh. And so when they met you, they said, I'm starting this thing called DeuxMoi.
Yeah, and it wasn't a celebrity blinds. If you scroll down on her Instagram, it just used to be like fashion content, like New York City trendy girl fashion stuff.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, when people want to post some of that type of stuff, whether it's the blinds or the NT lawyer who's been doing it even longer, and sometimes they want to post it on my private Facebook group, Juicy Scoop Obsessed, I decline it because I'm like, I don't like to share that kind of information. If it's written in page 6, it can still have allegedly. It still might not be true. But I feel like there's been legally enough background that I'm not fucking someone over by even posting it and having the 35,000 people talk about it on my page.
I agree. Yeah, I think as people with a platform, there is a little bit of a responsibility to not just say everything you've heard, because just because you've heard it does not make it true in any way, shape, or form. Yeah,
I just I heard something about myself recently.
What'd you hear?
That I was either divorced or getting divorced.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry.
I kind of got excited about it. I heard it from
that's like a good gossip. Like, all of my tea is like, she's fucking racist. She is a neo-Nazi, which is so offensive as a Jew. But that's all I get. I wish someone would speculate divorce or I don't know, drug addiction. Please, just I'm too skinny. I
don't think I pretend that my marriage is perfect, but I'm it's weird because I'm no one's ever moved out. No one's ever so what is it?
You're an anomaly in Calabasas.
Yeah, I'm so what is it? But then I was talking to my neighbor who's in the business, and he had mentioned it to me, and then I saw him a couple months later. I'm like, okay, now I've heard it from another person. Who did you hear it from? And his story was so weird of how he heard it about these two girls. It was and he wouldn't tell me. And I go, well, will you please tell them I'm not mad. I'm actually super flattered that someone would even talk that much about my situation. But it made me go, okay, so now now I kind of know how a very simple rumor can get started. I mean, thank God it wasn't that I was, breaking up because I wanted to eat someone's blood,
Well,
or
I actually did hear that rumor about you. I read it on DeuxMoi.
That I'm also really, because I did really get horny for Armie Hammer. He was really my type before. I liked him in the the peach eating one. I mean, it really makes him sucking the cum out of a peach like not that bad anymore, right? But I didn't even mind that.
Like, I think that was probably improvised. Like he brought that to the table.
You think he did?
He's obviously
the peach
very
part.
creative.
You do? God. I mean, what's also weird is like, you would have thought it would have come out that maybe really he was gay or had a gay lover or something because he was so convincing in that movie.
But he's just that good of an actor.
He's just that good of an actor. And then he could act like he wasn't a cannibal for all these years and convinced us.
Acting like normal for all these years.
So do you think it's worse to find out that your spouse was actually into cannibalism or that they pretended for a decade to be from another country? What do you think is worse?
I'm so glad you brought this up. Like, you have no idea how glad I am. And honestly, when I look at the two situations, Hillary Baldwin
Hilaria.
and Armie Hammer, honestly, like, I have more like secondhand embarrassment for Hilaria.
I think I do too.
No, it's really weird.
I really do. And had you ever heard any rumors about that? Or what was your opinion of her before the story broke? And you were just like anybody else that saw her popping out babies, being size 2 when the baby's like 3 weeks old and doing like a yoga pose on her sink with 2 babies hanging from her inner thigh. What was your opinion?
That's literally exactly what I thought of her. I'm like, wow, she is always getting so snatched, like 2 days after giving birth. She has so many kids. And I also felt like in a real way, she grounded Alec a lot because he used to be a nut, like an absolute nut, like beating people up on the street, saying crazy shit. And I felt like he really grounded her and, she really grounded him and gave him like a really a sense of stability. And then this whole thing unraveled and I was just like grabbing the popcorn, could not understand it in any way.
Yes. I've told people that I love this. This was the highlight of the end of the year. I'm just really curious because I've talked a lot about it, so I don't want to get into all my opinions. But now I'm kind of like, where do they go from here? What do you do? Do you, again, just lay low for like a year? And as her just kind of just come out after a year, maybe give up social media for the rest of your life. But then when you're on the red carpet, like in a year or two, like maybe he's got a new show and he's bringing you, then are you just talking normal again? And you just act like this didn't happen because she did address it, but she wasn't truthful. Like, or do you write a book about it? Get a movie made and kind of make fun of it in that, I got into this mode of speaking Spanish and I just went with it. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And until someone really like called me out and pointed it out, I didn't realize like that I was really speaking like this. I knew I could speak Spanish. I knew I wanted my kids to speak Spanish, but pretending like I was really from Spain. I don't know what she can say. I mean, she's got to admit I was playing a part for 10 years that got very natural to me. And nobody, my parents didn't call me on it. Alec didn't call me on it. My friends that I met at Mommy and Me didn't call me on it.
I still have so many questions, but the first is like, there's a very real possibility that either Alec Baldwin was in on this dupe or he himself got duped by her. And I'm really feeling like it's the latter.
You think he got duped?
Yeah, like he...
Right now they're living separately because supposedly something, they said because of COVID, like maybe someone was exposed. But
I saw that too.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no words for how upset I am that SNL wasn't even on the air when all this happened because I just would have loved to have seen what they were going to do with this story because it's so absurd and it's this kind of scandal we've never really seen before. That's why it's similar to the Armie Hammer thing. Like, I don't know anyone who's ever in Hollywood been exposed for pretending to be someone they're not at all.
No, it's like a first-time thing. Yeah. It's so freaking juicy. And I don't think SNL would have addressed it. And I don't think they will.
Because he works there?
Because basically he works there. He's been there. He has such strong relationships with Lorne Michaels and Tina Fey and all the cast. And, and I thought, well, certainly they're going to have him come back when the show comes back to talk about the inauguration and, some funny sketch of what Trump is doing. And of course, he's their Trump. So will he do that? But yet he'll just do that part and then leave and it won't be part of update news. They won't address it. That's my prediction, that they will never address it, that they're going to take the stand of this is our friend. This is his family. This is a woman who also is vulnerable since she just gave birth. So we don't want to tip her over the edge, possible postpartum. And we're going to leave them be. They've suffered enough. It's super embarrassing. And the joke is old. That's where they're going to come from. The joke's old now. Stop talking about it.
Yeah. Can I just pause to pay
Sure.
the housekeeper? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Kathy, how much do I owe you? 20, 100, 20, 780. Okay, 180, is that good? Yeah. There you go. Thank you. I'll see you on Wednesday. Okay. I'm so sorry.
No, that's no
Crazy
problem.
busy day at my house. I'll just write down the time and I'll cut it out. Okay.
Well, so that is my opinion. Do you think they'll ever address it on SNL about Hilaria?
No, I mean, by the time SNL comes back, there's so much already happening in the news, and they are not in the business of, bringing up things that happened months ago. But it is disappointing because I just think it would have been really funny.
Yes, I agree. Wait, I just noticed on my notes one thing I want to bring up about the Armie Hammer. Now, they're convinced that it's actually him because the girl who is claiming this had a photo of him with his fingers in a photo. Did you see this? And the tats
Yes, but
matched.
the tattoo.
But then someone said it's not a total perfect match. But I only saw one person say that.
I mean, I haven't seen it myself, so I can't give my royal decree. But if enough people say it's a match, it's a match.
All right, there you go. Okay, let's talk about some housewife stuff. What do you think about Braunwyn from Real Housewives of OC? Now, yesterday, this is just crazy, but there just happened to be a paparazzi guy hanging out in Costa Mesa. He happened to have his camera there, and it was a beautiful sunny day in Costa Mesa, California, and it was one of the only sex shops that are still working, because in 2021 most people get their sex toys online, so you don't have to go to a gross sex store place
and experience the shame.
And also, people don't like to go to stores anyway because with COVID you want to try to avoid it, and with Amazon and all these other places you can get your sex toys sent right to you. But what a lucky thing for this paparazzi to be right there when Braunwyn and her husband, and Braunwyn, to remind you guys, is she's on her second year of Real Housewives of OC. She's a mother of 7 who's married, but she just came out saying she's gay. She has a girlfriend, and said she also never enjoyed having sex with her husband or ever was attracted to him. She came out with her husband with a bag of sex toys, I assume, or sex paraphernalia, and a necklace that said gay okay, and that, God damn it, those paparazzis don't give
Those
this mother of
little
7
rats.
a moment of peace. They caught her.
No, that was
They
so
caught her.
staged. It was crazy. Like, between the necklace and Sean and the sex shop, and it's not like really that many paparazzi, I would imagine, hang out in Orange County. Like, they're busy in Beverly Hills. Like, it was
They're
just
not anywhere
so,
anymore. But the thing is, they're not anywhere. You have to call them. Or they have to
so
know an event
orchestrated.
was happening, because it's, and especially now, there is nothing to do because no restaurants are open. So it's like, you're
Right.
not. So, of course, they were free when they got the tip from someone. They were able to race from Melrose Boulevard all the way to Orange County and get there just when she was coming out.
It's amazing. It's miraculous.
It really is. And I'm just waiting for the news to hear that she has unfortunately been hospitalized for dehydration. And she's extreme dehydration. She's going to hopefully recover soon, you guys. Yes.
I think that my feelings are with Braunwyn. I feel very confused because I really wanted to lift her up. I think that being sober on Housewives is so brave.
So
and
hard.
Talking about sobriety, so hard. And then her journey to coming out, it's all so admirable. But her actions on the show are not paralleling her actions in her personal life. And what she did to Elizabeth was so fucked up. And she just keeps deflecting all of the shitty shit she's doing onto Shannon, who also is doing shitty shit. But it's not all Shannon's fault. I'm not seeing the two Braunwyns line up.
So you mean when she researched Liz's financial background and property ownership and stuff and brought it out of the show?
Which was just such a fucked up thing to do for a woman you just met.
Right. And of course, by doing it, you're talking about it on the show, it's not like you're just sharing it with the 4 other women at the country club or whatever at lunch. You're sharing it with the entire world. So anything on the show, you're sharing it with the entire world.
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed the show at all this season?
No, thank you for asking. It's so bad. And first of all, the COVID stuff, like I lived it in March. Like it gives me terrible anxiety and it's so not entertaining. And honestly, Shannon is such an alarmist that like she's just like really freaking me out and it's just so uninteresting. And honestly, nothing has happened. Like that trip that they took, which I thought would be finally like a reprieve from all the COVID nonsense. It was all COVID. Everyone's feeling sick. Someone got sick. Someone's quarantined. Emily's husband's in the hospital. It was so traumatizing to live through 2020. To relive it on my safe space in my Housewives is really mentally not good.
Right. And then when you do see them on the shows during the COVID months that we've, for the last 10 or 11 months, whatever month we're on, then you get comments being like, wait, how are they not wearing masks at lunch? Oh, because they're all tested. They weren't tested. I mean, nothing makes sense in this world that you could go to a grocery store, but you can't go here. And you can, someone can do this to you, but you can't get your nails done. Like, it doesn't make sense. We've never been through it before. The rules don't all make sense. So it's like, then you kind of see it again. Okay, so how do you feel about Real Housewives of Dallas that just started?
I love it. I think it's so good. I think Tiffany, and I know they have really like not great ratings for Dallas, which makes me really sad because I feel like now in their 4th and 5th season, they're really getting in the groove. I think they've got a great group. I think Tiffany, the new housewife, is amazing. She's so rich and she just brings this elegance and these Birkins and her intellectual, superiority. I love her. I love the franchise. I really hope a lot of more people start to tune in because it's great. They have such good housewives. And honestly, my bar for housewives is not that high. Like I just need all the women to be rich because that's the type of show. It's an aspirational show. And I think in some of these franchises, New York specifically, like we are scraping the bottom of the barrel. And like these women are just not living the life that I like to see on my housewives with Bentleys and mansions and private planes. We're getting none of that in some franchises.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but I think those days are over. I don't think anybody with
they're
real...
not over in Beverly Hills and they're not over in Dallas.
They are over in Beverly Hills because Erica Jane is over. And
that's true.
Dorit is probably going to pull it back a little for fear that she'll be the next to be investigated, or let's make sure where is your money really coming from.
Right.
And I'm not accusing her of anything, but I mean, that's going to make, if people around you are getting in trouble, you're going to be like a little paranoid. So I think they have a really hard time finding new people. Sutton is rich. So, and I think she's a regular cast member. So you're going to see some wealth there. So you have that to look forward to, Claudia. But I mean, and I like the Tiffany Moon too. I loved the house. I wanted to drink that wine with her last night.
Gorgeous.
I was following her on TikTok before, and she does a lot of TikTok videos about her wealth and her stuff. And she's kind of funny.
I have to follow her.
But what do you think of her weird Valley vocal fry voice? Where it's like,
I'm in no position
yes,
to criticize anyone's voice, but it is a little annoying. But so am I. Like I have vocal fry. I say like every other word. The pot would be calling the kettle black. Like I just cannot.
It doesn't really bother me that much either, but I get, that she does. Okay, what do you think of Real Housewives of Salt Lake, our newest franchise?
Love. Oh my God. Such a fresh franchise. The editing is amazing. I thought they found such a diverse and robust group of women. I love, love, love it. It's honestly one of my favorites.
I hate watch it. I definitely hate watch it. I won't stop watching it. It doesn't make me fall asleep. I have to say I fell asleep during Real Housewives of Dallas last night, which is a little rare.
How? I thought it was such a good episode. I fall asleep at OC all the time. I cannot get through
that's
the
what I'm saying.
episodes.
Sometimes you fall asleep, and sometimes you might just be tired, but other times. But
yes,
you're right.
True.
Real Housewives of Salt Lake, I get so infuriated at it that it keeps me awake. I mean, I hate Brooks Marks. I think his fashion show is awful. He's so annoying.
God. I love that that's the first cast member you said, and he's not even a housewife. I agree. I've been very hard on him on the podcast.
Oh, my God.
Even though he is someone's child, so I feel weird
someone's
about
child,
it. But
but
at the end of the day,
yes,
he put himself in this position, and he wanted to come on the show and be the breakout star, and as the sassy character. And he just completely flopped at that. If anything, he's just a brat.
I just feel like they thought they were going to be like the characters from Schitt's Creek or something. And he was totally probably seen every episode of that, along with, I bet he started watching The Housewives when he was about 5, never missed an episode, had the opportunity, quit college, and was like, Mom, you're going to do this, and I'm going to make it happen. And I'm going to be a fashion designer. What are you going to do? I'm going to buy some black sweats. I'm going to buy some masking tape. I'm going to write my names all over it because Calvin Klein and Givenchy does it. But, again, it is because it's so annoying, I'm watching it. Like, I would say, don't get rid of him next year. Keep him because it's keeping my interest. Just like I hate Mary with her eyes and, thinking about all the poor people in your congregation that are watching the show as she stomps around and has clothes everywhere.
Her finances intrigue the shit out of me. These homes in these different cities and the church. I don't know how you become rich off a church, but then she said they also have restaurants. Like, I don't know how you have that much balmain as a church runner.
Well, I'm sure someone is investigating and we'll either find out that she's done nothing wrong or she's done a lot wrong, for sure.
But I have to say, as much as Brooks bothers me, I'm in love with his mom. I think Meredith is such a class act, and I think she's a great housewife.
Well, thank you, Claudia. I appreciate it.
Yes,
Brooks
she does talk very
slow. And he, is really upsetting that his father wasn't there for the fashion show. And I want to make it work with him. And now Jen is saying that I'd seen another man when she has no proof of it.
Jen is also really starting to bother me.
Starting? Jen is the worst housewife ever. And I would like to see her go. I would.
I kind of agree. It's also inauthentic, everything.
Oh,
I'm not buying what she's selling.
Well, I've said, what does she need 9 assistants for? And they said,
so stupid.
So someone said she has 3 companies, but it sounds like anyone could have these 3 companies. One is a clothing online thing, which anybody could have.
Brooksmarks.com.
Yes, you could buy a bunch of clothes, or you could just, put your sweat, buy some sweats to put we all have our own clothing line.
She has a Poshmark, essentially, is what you're saying.
Then she has some eyelashes thing, which again, is an eyelash thing. And then the third company is some other beauty something. But
I never heard of any of these.
And so she has got 9 assistants and that feed her and fan her and that do her makeup, and then the screaming and the breaking of wine glasses, and then everything is Shaw team and Team Shaw and the Shaw Chalet. And I'm like, and the Shaw Chalet is rented. And
yes.
Do you think the clothes are counterfeit?
I don't know. I mean, her finances are so confusing. Just so much doesn't add up in terms of what it looks like on the show is that she doesn't work, and what it looks like on the show is that her husband is an assistant football coach at a college, which is a very, good job and makes a great living, but not the type of life that she's living with the huge parties, with the DJs and the decor and the flower walls and the Balmain dress and the Balmain shoes and the Balmain this and the Fendi ski. It's just not a sustainable lifestyle on that type of salary. So either one of them comes from family money, or it's just some things are not adding up.
Right. Well, I know that Mary, I think, wore a Chanel ski outfit. Yeah. And I heard from a reliable source who is knowledgeable of counterfeit and real Chanel stuff. And that person told me they don't make that outfit.
That's interesting. Well, that's like at the Potomac reunion when they accused Karen of wearing that fake Fendi jumpsuit because the letters got cut off. It said ND, but that was because she said she tailored it. And I actually believe her. I'm not going to lie.
It's possible.
Love Karen Huger.
It's possible. I have no problem with it. I just think it's kind of funny because you're watching it and you're so overwhelmed, adding it up, and you're wondering, like, are they doing this so they appear rich? Do they have a huge credit card bill? Is it counterfeit
Well,
stuff? Yeah.
You know what? That really reminds me of Leanne Locken.
Yes.
Who was,
From Dallas.
there was a huge disparity in her lifestyle versus the other women.
Yes.
And she had a new Gucci bag, belt, Chanel earrings, Chanel shoes, Chanel dress every day, which made literally no sense. Just based on her lifestyle, not serving food at her own wedding.
Right. Good point. Do you miss Leanne Locken in The Real Housewives of Dallas?
No.
Do you think she'll
Hard
ever
no.
come back?
No, I think that for a multitude of reasons, she didn't fit in with the group. And she always took it to this place that was like so dark. And while that's interesting every now and then, to have like your whole aesthetic on the show be like this darkness, it just brings the group down. And I definitely feel a sense of light and levity since she's gone.
Oh, I know what I want to ask you, because this just resurfaced in a kind of a blind item situation. Mm-hmm. What, in your opinion, do you think really happened between Carole and Bethenny? Why do you think Bethenny turned on Carole and was so upset with Carole to the point where there was the point of no return after that reunion?
Yes, I did see that. And I just want to say, I was very, very team Bethenny when it happened. I am still team Bethenny. While it did feel like we were missing pieces to the friendship,
the breakdown of their friendship. Uh-huh.
I don't know if I necessarily believe that blind item, because honestly, Bethenny is a lot of things. I think you could say she's harsh. She maybe is a little rough around the edges. She's kind of snappy and sometimes a little mean. I don't think she's desperate, and I don't think that she's a user. I really don't get that vibe from her. And what that blind item said is that she was really using Carole to get to one of Carole's friends in Hollywood for a TV show. And I think that Bethenny has, and at the time had even more opportunities coming at her door when she was on Housewives. She was on Shark Tank. I think that her business took her so many places. I don't see her as being a desperate user. I see her as other things, and I think a lot of the critiques of her are very valid. I don't see that. I just don't.
I think it was a moment that irked her. It did come up at the reunion. It wasn't the only thing, but I think it irked her, and I think at the time she probably shared with a girlfriend or someone about how, like, and then, you know what, I go to see Carole. I'm in Los Angeles. I go to pick her up, and I'm like, I'm in the driveway. Should I park? And she's like, no, I'll come right out. And I'm like, really? I can't even meet your friends? Why can't I meet your friends? Like, I've interesting things to say to these people. I mean, I know a few people in Hollywood. I think we probably get along and have a really good time. But no, you're going to keep me from your friends? Like, I think that in her mind, she was like, I'm not a friend poacher. I'm not a one-upper. I'm your friend. But I felt like you were keeping me from people that I did want to meet, that would have been a good, interesting people for me to meet.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was it, but I think it played a role in, when you're when you're breaking up with a friend, or hopefully you don't break up with a friend, but maybe it leads to like kind of a blow up. And then in that blow up, someone brings something up from like 2 or 3 years ago, and you're like, what? And then you realize, you've been holding on to it. You've been harboring it. You may have shared it with one friend. You may have never shared it, but you've been tallying it up, and it's always bothered you, and now it's out. And so that's the way I see it. And then, of course,
I think it remains one of the biggest mysteries on Bravo. I don't know if we'll really ever know what happened, but having these sort of blind Reddit things does help put the pieces together. But I still don't think we'll really ever truly know. I don't think they'll ever even agree on what was the thing that brought them down. I
don't think Carole really knew. I think Carole was blindsided by it and was kind of like, what is the problem? And then...
I just think we're going to agree to disagree.
Whoa. Okay.
Like, I'm so hard team Bethenny.
Okay.
And
have you hung out with Bethenny?
Like, I got a lot of shit for it, but I just believe Bethenny, like I do.
You ride or die. She's your ride or die, B?
She's definitely like one of my top
Have
housewives
you
of all time.
Had her on your show, or you bet on hers?
No and no. But I did speak to her a little bit on Instagram, because she really does amazing work, philanthropically.
Definitely.
And, during COVID, we helped fundraise, and we donated some money, and she's just really wonderful. But that's really the only time I've never spoken to her. I did meet her once at Soho House years ago, and she had no idea who I was, but the person I was with that she knew, and she wouldn't give me the time of day, but I was living for it.
Very good. Okay, like it. I want to talk about some things that you're obsessed with that I would like to ask you about.
Please.
Why are you so obsessed with Matthew Morrison from Glee? What is the story behind that?
So I am a Gleek. I am obsessed with the show Glee. I was raised on it. I think it's an amazing show. I watch it all the time. But there is, and it's really a near perfect show.
Right.
And I say near perfect because Matthew Morrison plays the Glee teacher. He's a substitute Spanish teacher, and he takes on the Glee Club, this like band of misfit nerds, and makes them, believe in themselves and their powers and their wonderful stars. And he's actually like a very bad teacher, and a lot of his lessons are really toxic, and he's a freak and really inappropriate. And now when I watched the show in high school, I didn't notice anything, but as an adult, I rewatch and I'm like, wow, he's a terrible teacher. And he would definitely have been fired for some of the things that he made the students do. And it was just really inappropriate. And he just like started to creep me out, like his face and everything. And then he had the audacity to be the Grinch and come into our homes on the holidays and act a mess and act very foolish and be disgusting. And now I'm just completely done with him. And he just freaks me out.
Okay, good. What do you think about Kelly Ripa? Now you have a whole Kelly Ripa mindless news segment that is on your show. Tell us about that.
So we do a segment on the show called Kelly's Mindless News, KMN. And I want to preface it by saying it's nothing about Kelly. Like I actually think I did have a problem with how she handled the whole Michael Strahan thing, but other than that, I think she's probably a nice lady and she's good at her job and I have no problems with her. I just noticed over the years that the way the media treats Kelly Ripa is so bizarre. Like there is every day, if you look for it, now I'm going to put this in your brain. And when you look at it, you're going to see it everywhere. Like there are just constant news stories written about mindless things that Kelly Ripa does. Like if she shares something on Instagram, I found that everything she shares on Instagram will be made into a news story and blown out of proportion. So it's like, you have to see Kelly Ripa's amazing Hamptons backyard. So I'm like, okay, let me see.
Okay.
Open it up, and they're writing up one of her Instagram stories where she's literally taking a selfie. And you see in the background, like in the Hamptons, there's like a pool and some grass. Like it's not an Architectural Digest spread of her backyard Hamptons house. It's literally them taking the tiniest piece of news that she's giving us and blowing it up. She is the most widely reported on person in Hollywood. Like now that I've put it in your brain, you are going to see it everywhere. And anytime you click on a Kelly Ripa story, I assure you it is the least interesting piece of news of all time.
What about that post that she did recently? She was doing like a paid video post, an ad, and she was like laying on the couch trying to look normal.
And I'm sure People magazine wrote it up that her couch was featured and it's the most beautiful couch you've ever seen in your life.
Did you see that video though? How weird it was that she was like laying like that? It was like a weird angle.
I don't follow Kelly Ripa on Instagram because I'm not interested in the mindlessness.
Okay.
But I didn't see it. Okay.
What is your prediction of what the Sex and the City series will be like now that Kim Cattrall is not part of it?
Stupid. Like, why would you make a show without Samantha? I know that they just want to continue the legacy of the show, but I think it's best to let sleeping dogs lie. Like, let's end in Abu Dhabi, which was an amazing movie. I thought both movies were great. It's sad that the women couldn't work together on a third one, but I think making some streaming service 10-episode show with 3 out of 4 of the women is a mistake. I will watch it, but I think it's a mistake.
You do. Well, and what do you think about, do you think one of the great mysteries of Hollywood, of Bravo, it's Carole versus Bethenny? Of Hollywood, do you believe that it's what really happened with Sarah Jessica Parker versus Kim Cattrall? Or do you feel like you know?
I think one of the greatest mysteries of Hollywood is what happened in the elevator with Jay-Z and Solange. But
I don't think that's a mystery. I think we totally know what happened there.
No, I think there's so much more there, like that we didn't even begin to unpack. Like, I think that it's what I would have done to be a fly on that wall in that
Well, there was a fly
elevator.
on the wall. There was a camera in there. There's a camera in every elevator.
There was no audio.
Right. True dat. Yes.
And but I do think there is a lot of mystery around Sarah Jessica Parker. I think that HBO and Sarah Jessica Parker have done a good job of making Kim Cattrall the villain, but if I had to put my money on it, I'm sure Sarah Jessica Parker's a bitch, and she's really difficult to work with, and she got all in her head when Carrie was the star in the 90s, and she was everything of the sort, it girl in Hollywood, and honestly, Samantha put that show on her back, as did Charlotte, as did Miranda. I think a lot of people would say their least favorite character was, in fact, Carrie.
Whoa. Claudia.
Hot take. Hot fucking take.
Well, I did some research and I came up with this, and I love doing my Kim Cattrall as Samantha impression.
Oh, I can't wait.
And this really was the nail in the coffin, and this is when you realized there is no way they can make up. There is no way they can work together. Kim Cattrall's brother passed.
Yes,
and
I remember this.
Sarah Jessica Parker on social media posted some type of prayer support thinking of you. And Kim Cattrall wrote this, which I will do in her voice. I don't need your love and support at this tragic time, at Sarah Jessica Parker. Let me make this very clear. If you haven't already, you are not my family. You are not my friend. So I'm telling you right now, for the last time, to stop exploiting our tragedy in order to restore your nice girl persona. Now let me go find some cock.
I actually agreed with Samantha on this.
I did too.
To publicly make a condolence is in very poor taste, especially when you're a celebrity with a huge platform. And that does feel like a certain exploitation of someone's tragedy. And I thought that was really tacky of Sarah Jessica. Sorry.
Well, I think it's also a really hard thing to navigate in respect and in defense of Sarah Jessica Parker. So you find out that one of your castmates who you worked with for over 12 years or whatever it was, her brother dies. And so you can send flowers, you can send a card, but then you start seeing people say, Jessica, what do you Sarah Jessica Parker, what do you think, Sarah? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? You got to say, and so then you go, well, of course I feel terrible for her. I can't imagine how hard it is. So then you do that post, and then someone thinks that you're exploiting it. And I mean, it's the same type of thing of when, Bobby Zarin died, and of course Bethenny did fly and go to the funeral, and I really respected her for that. I think that was the right thing to do. But
me too.
It's another thing where you're like, I'm sure there was a moment where, or maybe she shared it in her head or with someone else, like, if I go, people are going to say I'm using it as an opportunity to look great, since we obviously had a big breakup and we haven't talked. But he was a wonderful man, and I always had a great time with him. And of course, I have love for the family. If I don't go and just send flowers, people are going to think that, it's a hard thing to do when you're estranged from someone who you once were very close to, and then they're suffering a tragedy and you're in the public. It's very hard to do the right thing.
The difference is that Bobby Zarin was a public figure. He was on the show. People knew him on Instagram. Like, he's a public figure, whereas Samantha's brother was never on the show. I don't think most people would recognize him, and I don't think a lot of people would have expected a public statement from Sarah Jessica on the death of her former castmate's brother.
Yes,
That's the difference, I think.
Well, it's too bad that you weren't having, drinks with Andy Cohen and Sarah the night that they found out that Kim Cattrall's brother had died.
Oh,
because
can you
could have
imagine?
steered her in the right direction.
Yeah, I would never have. I think that's, even if they were super close, I do think publicly making a condolence is just a very weird thing to do for someone else.
Speaking of which, did you ever know one thing I was obsessed with, just the same weird ways you're obsessed with things, is when Andy's adorable son was born, and in the beginning he posted quite a bit about the child, and it was like, how fast can each housewife like or make a comment on this baby's photo, like as soon as possible? And I always felt like there was the one housewife that wakes up from a 4-hour nap in the afternoon and realizes that he had posted a really
She's the last one.
Yeah, a really cute post of the baby, and it was like, oh my God, just came out of a surgery. He is the cutest. You're the best dad ever. Those chocolate eyes can't get enough. Send.
No, you're totally right. The way they all flock to the comment section, and I've never been more jealous. I wish that was my comment section.
Every time you post something, just everyone has to talk about it. What is your prediction for Kim and Kanye?
It's devastating. I mean, I'm such a fan, and
Your fan is them as a power couple.
as a power couple, I'm really a fan of the Kardashians, and I just want them to be happy. So if that means Kim being single, then that's what it is. I support Kim forever and always. I'm sad because I just, I'm a child of divorce. They have 4 kids. I was one of 4. It sucks at the end of the day. Like, this is still a family breaking up, and that's always going to be sad.
How do you feel about the fact that she's bringing Nylons back?
The thing is with Kim, while I really appreciate what she does for fashion, I think I love that for her. I'm just not personally going to implement those particular trends into my wardrobe.
So you're still going to go bare-legged for the rest of your life? No nylons?
I think so.
Was a little bit excited about it. I have great legs. They're not going to be great forever. You get to a certain age.
You do.
No, even J-Lo wears like industrial strength tights when she's in her, onesies.
Costume.
Yes. You come to a certain age, no matter how much you work out, no matter how much, lotion you put on your legs, you might want to, wear a nylon when you're 65 or 70. And they've been out for about 25 years. I used to wear them in college, and then they went really, really out.
I used to wear them to Temple.
It used to be like proper. Like I remember being on a job. I worked at my first job was to be a buyer at Robinson's May, okay? And I hated the job and it was awful, and I had a pantsuit on. Get this, okay? This is like, early 90s. I had a pantsuit on and like some heels, and I'm talking to like my boss's boss, who was like kind of like a little bit Devil Wears Prada. Like she's been in retail her whole life. She was attractive. She had a rich husband. And, then whatever. So she goes, where are your nylons? And I go, and I think in my head, and I go, oh, they ripped on the drive here. So I just took them off since I had pants on. And she's like, oh, I just saw your veiny foot emerge from your shoe. And it was just so shocking.
Oh, my God. That's a crazy thing to say to someone in a workplace setting.
And I'm wearing a pantsuit.
So
I'm wearing a pantsuit. So when they did fire me, the first thing I did when I got in my car was I took off those fucking nylons. And I never wore them. I never really wore them again. And then they went out of style in the sense that, like, you just wear like a bare-legged, unless it's like a opaque tight. Like you really, even a sheer black looks weird. Anyway, so when I saw that she was doing sheer and a variety of nude-colored nylons, I am slightly excited because I don't know. I still don't need them.
Her products are great.
Yeah, that's good for her. Well, okay. Oh, I want to ask you this. Okay, so now you went on the road with your stand-up, and you had a stand-up special. How do you feel about going back on the road once it's safe? Are you going to be doing that?
I can't fucking wait. Like, I don't know about you, but this is torture. It's actually been a great time just because so much fucked up shit's going on in the world that there's like endless amounts of inspiration for material.
Yeah.
But I can't wait. I mean, I was supposed to start my next tour. I was supposed to take 2020 off and start in January 2021 with like a little book tour and then roll out the comedy tour. And none of that. I can't go on a book tour. I have to do like virtual signings. Can't go on tour doing comedy. It sucks. I mean, obviously, first of all, like,
so what are you waiting? Are you waiting on for like when everyone's vaccinated, or are you going to go to certain cities that allow it?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't even thought about it. I'm waiting on like the okay from my team. And in terms of like venues even being open, I can't, I mean, I don't know if you can, but like I can't do an outdoor venue. I'm not that talented a comedian.
No, I never did that.
It's very distracting. And I think I would rather wait. I just want to wait for more people to be vaccinated, for more things to open back up. I mean, there's not even fucking restaurants open in New York. Like, I am fully on lockdown.
Right. So are we.
So like, I can't even think about touring yet.
So I have a couple more questions for you. When we were talking about Armie Hammer, we're going to end it on a beautiful cannibalistic note, Armie Hammer. Do you have any fetishes? Any type of fetishes that you've either talked about, or if someone found out, it would be not good?
No, I think my fetishes are normal. Like, I like to eat in my bed and drink a lot of alcohol. I don't know if that's a fetish, but I'm just disgusting.
I have a fetish, and it's
what is it?
Back cracking your back. And now I've graduated.
Oh, my husband does that.
I've graduated to watching several chiropractors on Instagram.
Oh, I love those videos.
And I know some people have it for like pimple popping, and I don't.
I have it for pimple popping. Love.
How long will you go? How long will you go watching it? Like
I'll go until there's a video that'll gross me out because I really like small whiteheads, love blackheads, but when they start doing like cysts
No, I
in
don't like a
people's
cyst.
skulls, that grosses me out, and that's when I'll swipe away.
I really only like blackheads, but I'm too scared to go in that world because there isn't one that's like blackheads only or hard blackheads, like a little chunk.
You know
comes
what
out.
I've started on TikTok that I really like? Watching people get like when they have crazy buildup of earwax in their ear, watching it get pulled out.
Okay, that I could totally do too. Now the back cracking, I mean, I feel like it is a bit of a fetish because I will watch it for a really long time, and somehow I get like satisfaction, like I feel like my back is cracking.
Yeah, of course.
Watching it, and
100%.
so I do think that it's a weird fetish. I used to think it was an addiction. Now I think I can say no, it's a fetish because
Yeah.
I can go a long time without watching. It's not like I have to watch it before I wake up in the morning like I need a hit. But then when I come across it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is
Delicious.
this is the drop the head, hug the head, twist it to the left, like
Yes. Take a deep breath.
breathe out. I wish they found a few more different fun positions. I feel like I keep seeing the same positions for the
Well, there's
cracking.
actually really good back content on TikTok. I would encourage you to check it out.
Okay, thank you. But one of the things I was thinking of, and you might be too young to know this, but I feel like you've heard the story of Richard Gere and the Gerbil, have you?
No,
What?
no, I don't. I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed.
Okay, Richard Gere, as you know who he is, right? The actor.
I'm having a flashback to being on your podcast last time, and I feel like you told me this story.
Did I?
I have such a bad memory. Tell me, and I'll tell you if it rings a bell.
I'll tell you exactly how I heard the story. Okay. So I'm fresh out of college. So this is like early 90s. And I might have even been in college. I have to look up the date that this went down. So there's no internet. There's tabloid magazines. There's like, TV shows that do things. And I talking to my friend whose friend is a doctor. And she says, oh my God, my dad heard from from some doctor that Richard Gere came into the emergency room and they had to pull a gerbil out of his asshole. And that is something
I've
gays...
definitely heard this story from you.
Anyway, and all of a sudden this rumor started and everybody said that that's how they heard it, that they knew someone who knew somebody who was a nurse on call and that they had to pull a gerbil out of his asshole, and that's something that gay guys were doing at the time, is to let a gerbil crawl up your ass, burrow in there, and then you're able to pull it out, but this one got stuck.
Is Richard Gere gay?
No.
Oh.
But people thought, well, maybe he was. Maybe Cindy
Right.
Crawford, who was his wife briefly before she got married and had her 2 kids, maybe, she was a beard. There was rumors she was gay too. They're both gay. This is this gerbil thing. But it was never like written. It was just literally telephone, word of mouth.
Right.
Okay.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. And so we were talking about it today, and it's like, did he ever address it? Did he ever? And I said, in one interview, he did. In one interview, he said something like, people say crazy stuff about me. People say I had sex with a chicken. I never had sex with a chicken. So he didn't say people said I had a gerbil up my asshole, but he made it. You knew what he was talking about. It's ridiculous. Still, people went away being like, I still believe it. How could this story go so long without it being a little bit true?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if someone told me or it finally came out, but the story I heard was that, in fact, it's full circle on the interview here, 2 guys who were gay saw him at a restaurant, asked for an autograph or a photo or something, probably an autograph. People didn't have photos with cameras with him all the time. And they felt he snubbed them or was rude. And they started the rumor.
Stop.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
That's
and it absolutely,
crazy.
it's been proven there has been never any proof to it. It wasn't true.
Right.
But
Wow,
did he
that
do
really
the right
is a
thing?
full circle interview, Heather.
It really is. It really is. And Claudia, I'm really excited for your book, and tell everybody how they can pre-order it and everything.
Yes. It comes out January 26th, so you can pre-order it now. The audiobook, the print, and the hardcover and the ebook, all the versions are available. girlwithnojob.com/book. If you buy the hardcover version, there's a little photo insert in the middle with some pictures of me and my dad and my family, and moments I reference like throughout the career in my book. So check it out. I would appreciate the support. girlwithnojob.com/book.
Love it. Love you. I hope to see you soon. Maybe
I
by
love you. Thank you for
hopefully
having
by the
me. You are
spring or
hilarious.
something, we can see each other.
Yes.
Well, and if you're waiting in line for your vaccine, do it while reading Claudia's book.
Yes. Thank you, Heather.
Bye, girl. I love you. Guys, get her book, and thank you again for leaving new reviews for Juicy Scoop. I really appreciate it. And of course, for the juiciest scoop and the best way to support myself and the show is to join Patreon. You go to heathermcdonald.net, you click on Patreon, and you get ready to change your life. Also, on heathermcdonald.net are the tour dates for 2021. Plus, I'm coming to Texas next, you guys, Houston and Dallas. And then I have all the latest merch, and I've got the baby onesies. I'm a delight. You can get a baby onesie for the delight of a baby in your life, or maybe your friend is pregnant and she's a juicy scooper. Check it out. It's the most exciting merch I think I've ever had. I cannot wait to see you guys put babies in it and send me these photos. So check it out, all at heathermcdonald.net.